And now we are going to go into our interview with Fast Eddie Chambers,
Thru the Wire.
We want to welcome to the program Philadelphia native Fast Eddie Chambers. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm good, my man. Just had a good hard day at work. That's all.
Now, Eddie, you have a fight coming up this month on the 26th. Who will you be fighting?
Well, right now we're still in the process of trying to iron that out. We had a few prospects and that we're looking at, but right now not 100% sure exactly who it's going to be. But then anticipating it's going to be a pretty good opponent, pretty good tough guy. So just working real hard, making sure I'm 100% prepared. That's all.
Now, Eddie, you grew up in Philadelphia. You turned professional at the age of 18. Were you boxing before that age, or what were you doing?
Yeah, I was doing. I was an amateur for about 4 years. Had close to 100 or so fights in 4 years. In the States, that's not really a lot, to be honest. But in 4 years, I felt like I was kind of busy. But then I turned professional at 18. I tried to get to the Olympics with the Olympic trials and everything. It just wasn't to be. Instead of wasting too much time and trying to which I can't say wasting because. Maybe if if I'd have waited a year or so, I would have actually been one of the top amateurs in boxing. But we decided to go ahead and turn pro. It just wasn't, being in our situation we were in, we were poor. We had to make decisions based on the family. So as well as, my career what best suited me at the time. So, we thought I had a professional style, so we just went ahead and turn pro.
Okay, and growing up, who is a boxer that you looked up to, somebody that you tried to emulate, or somebody that you admired growing up?
Oh my goodness, I was like, you gotta get an hour.
Oh, we do have an hour to talk on this. No, I mean, if you had to narrow it down to the guys that you really tried to look up to.
Well, I mean, I was a huge Shane Mosley fan at one time. Period. I was a huge fan of his. I used to watch him constantly. You know what I mean? Trying to do some of the things that he was doing, you know what I mean? When you see those like a professional like that, and you look at some of the things they do in preparation for fights and everything, you get a little glimpse of that. You try to, mimic some of those things. You try to, improve your game and raise it to be like that. But another guy, that I was really big on and more recently than ever was James Toney. Always been a pretty big Roy Jones James Toney fan. But James Toney, I just think is like one of the best skill fighters ever to lace the gloves up. If you really watch some of the stuff he does, very, very clever guy. You know what I mean? He knows exactly what he's doing. He can fight. He's really so good that he can fight out of shape. And it's a shame that he's been able to do that for a lot of times, especially as a heavyweight in his career. He's been able to do that. And one more who actually is probably my favorite of all time would be Evander Holyfield. Just with his ability, but more than all of that, it was his heart. And the way he was able, and the way he fought absolutely everybody. You know what I mean? He took no back roads and no hiding from nobody. He just went ahead and fought anybody. And I really respect that, especially when you fight elite level talents constantly. So those are those guys. And Floyd Mayweather is another one that I watched. He was young coming up. Now obviously look at him. So these guys are some of the best fighters. Obviously in the world even today. But, that's where I get a lot of what I learned from watching those guys.
Now, how do you think you would stand up to some of those guys? You're talking Evander Holyfield, a guy who could box, he could brawl, he could take a punch. He was in legendary fights. He was a champion. James Lights Out Toney beat Holyfield late in his career. He was a champion. Sugar Shane Mosley was a beast.
So you see, the thing is with those guys, you gotta be, you gotta be 100% sharp. You gotta have a perfect camp. You gotta be, have the preparation in every way. You know what I mean? Planning, everything has to be set right because those are the elite of the elite. You know what I mean? Those are the guys that are the best of the best. So you gotta make sure that you're ready for them. But to get in there with one of those guys, you gotta have an elite talent yourself. I do, consider myself that. Have the ability to do what's necessary and get in front of anyone and give them a tough night. But man, those guys, just say, especially in their primes, man. Some of them even out of their primes, like James. When he was out of his prime, he still was giving people hell. So this is one of those guys. Any of these fighters, to be honest with you, you're definitely walking through, you're definitely walking through a whole lot of trouble. You know what I mean? To get that, to get the ultimate prize. It obviously was a win, and beating any of those guys is going to be a title belt to follow. So, I think I would have had an opportunity. I would have had a shot at him. There's no question about it. You know what I mean? Obviously, people looking at this era of heavyweights and these guys and say, oh, these guys aren't really that good. I mean, the sport has evolved so much. The big guys like myself are doing stuff that those guys were doing even at lighter weights. And I think, being that we're bigger doesn't mean that we're not as good. You know what I mean? As some of those guys, and being that we're, of course, in this era when there's not a whole lot of the recognizable names in the states that people look at, especially in the heavyweight division. They're just looking at boxing as it fell off. There's not as many good fighters, but trust me, there's a lot of good talent out here. There's a lot of great talent out here that would have been able to stand with anybody in any era, and I really do believe that. So I would have had a shot. There's no question, but it would have been definitely hell. I would have been going through hell to get that win or even whatever.
Yeah, I mean, those are some warriors. And you mentioned the States not having a champion right now. Do you think boxing needs an American heavyweight champion?
I think so. I think, boxing in the States is, right now, the only fights that people are interested in are Mayweather fights or something to do with Pacquiao or something like that. The excitement is now, in like the lighter weights in the States. But, and of course, the reason that is because the heavier weights are dominated over by Eastern European fighters, and guys overseas. And that is kind of difficult for, in the States, how we are, man. If we, basketball was about another year or so away from being one of those sports that was put on the back burner because we wasn't able to win, going overseas. Believe that. You know what I mean? The sport was probably going to grow worldwide, but in the States it would have started to get weaker because it's like, well, we don't have the best team anymore. So, so look at football or soccer. You know what I mean? They're challenging they would challenge for the World Cup. I guarantee you, if the Americans if we would have went on ahead and won the World Cup, man, soccer would have got a few more years, especially if we did kept stepping it up. That would have been a big sport in America. You know what I mean? So being that boxing is not where it once was, as far as having the American heavyweight scene, kind of takes it. It takes a little bit away from the sport in general. If you were to get an American heavyweight, a real American-based heavyweight, you know what I mean? White or black at this point, doesn't matter. Boxing, once again, I think it would get back up, especially in the States. I mean, once again, be back up in people's minds. People will pay attention to it a bit more, especially someone who can, grab the imagination of, just the regular folk, or even no matter just in the lay thing. They would be more interested. Somebody who had a good personality, attitude, and everything. Either that or be something like a Mike Tyson personality where everybody was just like, man, I just want to see him. You know what I mean? You'd be scared of him just to look at him, something like that. But, one or the other. You need something like that. Something with controversy.
I agree with you. But you think the growth of MMA has hurt boxing as far as kids not wanting to get into boxing and learn the technique and learn the sport?
I mean, to a degree, so it's a combat sport as well. But, I mean, I think it's a different audience. I mean, you got boxing fans. We got boxing fans from, this back in, the 1800s, you know what I mean? Not saying now, they're not still here. I'm not saying all the guys are still here, but we have. I mean, it's been going on so long, so we have old fans as well as new fans that grew up in a boxing family. You know what I mean? Not necessarily competing, but watching it. When you see these broadcasters, these analysts and pundits and all that, a lot of these people have been around the sport. Their kids are growing up understanding the sport, looking into the sport, competing, some of them. You know what I mean? So we have a lot of fans that is going to always be with boxing no matter how bad the sport gets, quote unquote. But at the same time, you know what I mean? MMA does present a bit of a challenge because if you look at MMA, they're getting people who, new people who weren't really into combat stuff. And then, like I said, different families who may have been into boxing. The kid, that grew up in a family, I like MMA, I like the grappling, I like the kicking, I like all of the kickboxing aspect. I like that it's well-rounded, and I want to learn that. And it kind of does present a little bit of a challenge to it, but I don't think that it takes too much completely away from it. Because, like I said, we have boxing fans, and when you look at a Mayweather fight, you see it sold out in GM Grand and those places like that. And you look overseas, like over here, and you see with the French pros fights, crazy amount of people in Wembley. It's like you can't really say. I mean, I'm not saying that they won't show up like that for MMA, because they definitely will, especially in Vegas. But it's still, boxing is still always going to have it's the niche. You know what I mean? There's just going to be some people, some boxing fans, even some of the late fans, that are going to watch a boxing match over anything else. You know what I mean? So, like I said, boxing is always going to have its area. You know what I mean? But MMA is definitely coming out strong recently.
And it was the trainer Teddy Atlas who said boxing is like a cockroach. It's been here for over 200 years. It will be here in 200 years. Now, you had a title fight with Klitschko. You went 12 rounds. You didn't win. Do you want a rematch with him?
Honestly, I would love the opportunity. The way we're training now, the way I'm training now with Peter and Team Fury, it's something obviously that you're gunning for. Just like every other fighter who's competing out there as a heavyweight. They want that world championship. I mean, even if they say they don't, or they're not 100% interested, they wouldn't turn down the opportunity for it. Let's say that. So you're always preparing to face, especially me with a guy who's already faced it. You're always preparing mentally, to face somebody of that caliber. You know what I mean? And being in the camp that I am with Tyson and Huey, and these guys are big athletic heavyweights. I couldn't be in a better place to prepare for that if that opportunity ever came along. So. I would love the opportunity. Who would complain about getting an opportunity to be the best heavyweight in the world, or at least consider that? You know what I mean? One of the best heavyweights in the world. So I mean, that's an opportunity I would love to have again. You know what I mean? It's obviously going to come at a price, and there's going to be some pain involved. But what doesn't in the sport? Right,
and you did go 12 rounds with him, and I feel like in a rematch that you have way more than just a puncher's chance to beat him. But is there anybody else out there that you would like to get in the ring with?
Well, I mean, look, to me, it's, there's the championship is what I'm after. You know what I mean? There's no, I'm going to call this guy out, he's this, he's that, and I know I can beat him. I'm not necessarily looking for any particular guy that I've seen matches up with me perfectly and looking to stand around and wait until that guy gets it. No, because at the end of the day, I feel like, look, you're going to have to end up fighting him anyway. Now, granted, you're not going to go out there and go after someone who is not going to help you get that far. You know what I mean? Meaning you choose a style that's tough for you just because you think that's the way through. No, there are obviously different guys you can in different routes you can take, and obviously, you got to be smart about your move going toward the title. If that title is, if that opportunity ever comes up, you want to make sure that you had the the proper you made the proper road on the way to it. But I just feel like, look, I'm gonna end up having to fight him anyway. Why not fight him and get him out of the way? I'll have it easy on the back end. You know what I'm saying? Give me the toughest guys first, and I can have it easy down the road. But I really don't care. There's no one in particular that I just say, oh, him, give me him. No, I don't care. You know what I mean? Aside from anybody in my camp, I don't care. Who I'm putting in front of. You know what I mean? Especially the fact that I'm prepared now to fight anyone. You know what I mean? I'm ready to go. Doesn't matter.
Now, can we talk about your character on the PlayStation game Fight Night 4? Because I don't think they gave you the justice that you deserve as a boxer on that game.
Nah, hey, but you know what, man? It's one of those things, I'm just happy to be on there, to be honest with you. Fight Night round 4, I was definitely fat, man. Although my rating was a little bit higher than it was recently. You know what I mean? But still, hey, at the end of the day, man, it's always nice to, I've been playing games since I was a kid. And we used to play video games, when it was Knockout Games at first. When that first came out, and then Fight Night, the first Fight Night came out and all that. And I was just imagining how nice it would be for me to be on one of them games. Sure enough, the opportunity came about. Now, granted, I would definitely, like my character to be a bit better, but I guess they got me on there with a whole bunch of the greats, so, I guess my rating has to reflect that. Because then when you look at Ariola's rated lower than me, and most people like him more than me, so what can I say?
Yeah, and it has to be an honor to be on a game like that. It's got to be humbling.
To have me to be able to fight Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, any of those heavyweight guys or whatever, it's like, what? I'm actually on him. I'm one of the paid roster. You know what I mean? That's nice. It's definitely a humbling experience, man. You look like, I've truly at least made a name for myself enough to be spoken of, in a form like that. Now, obviously it's a game, but in reality, I mean, I was just as much a heavyweight as any of these other guys in the other era. I'm not saying I'm any better or any worse, but we all got to the same point. Obviously, they've gotten a bit further with the titles, but there's still opportunities out there for me to get my own as well. So it's really a nice accomplishment, I guess, in a sense, for me.
Now, you are getting a little bit older. Not that I'm saying that I don't think you can win a belt, because obviously I think you can still get in the ring and win a belt. But you're doing some commentating now. Is that something that you're going to continue to do post-boxing career?
That's definitely one of the things I would like to do. You know what I mean? Also, it's possibility of personal training, things like that with boxing. The fitness aspect. A lot of people want to learn the sport, and they also want to get in shape. What better way to do, to earn money and doing something that you really know about and really are an expert at, and even after the sport, as well as doing things with nutrition. You know what I mean? Because I'm really big on nutrition. Different things I'm learning, different angles. You know what I mean? Versus obviously the carnivore diet versus the vegan diet, the vegetarian diet. I'm learning differences between that. Hydration, all kind of thing. Being hydrated and not to be different. Just different aspects of everything with it. I mean, I'm just mentioning things off the top of my head that about it that I'm knowing, I'm learning, I'm studying and stuff. Maybe open a gym.
Okay, Fast Eddie Chambers, you have a fight on the 26th. Now, I don't care who you're fighting, because we don't know. I got a second mortgage on my house. I'm putting it all on you to win. Don't let me down. And I do want to see you get back in the ring with Klitschko. Thank you for coming on our show, Eddie. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to leave us on?
No, man. It's basically boxing in general. I just want people to, just like we were talking about MMA and how that's making a big run. I mean, boxing is still here. You know what I mean? We have a lot of great talents. You know what I mean? We got it's been in the heavyweight division in particular. I just want people, especially in America, to understand that it's a global sport. You can be a fan of anyone, no matter where they're from. Now, obviously, you do want to, support your people and where you're from, because obviously you can kind of grasp you can grasp what they come through and what you've gone through. Because a lot of people are very similar in that regard. But there's guys like Tyson and the Chisores, these guys over the Hayes. Obviously, not everybody's a big fan of these guys. Klitschko, there's all kind of different heavyweight guys, and then you got Steph Vernon, Ariola. These are all very, very tough, strong, good young fighters. Some of them are young anyway. But myself, just support us. You know what I mean? Continue. All boxing fans, please continue to watch. I know some of it could be a bit of an eyesore, some of these fighters. You know what I mean? And I'm speaking only as far as the Klitschko are concerned, because most people look at them like, they're just not exciting. But look at the art. Look at what they do. Look how long they've been on top. You gotta respect the game to a degree, and that's all I'm asking for.
Thank you, Fast Eddie Chambers.